let me pull up this story. We have from Timcast.com. Ohio introduces parental rights in education bill, takes aim at promotion of divisive concepts in schools. So this was just from the other day, and it's similar to what we're seeing with Florida. Then we have this story from Texas Tribune. Critics of Texas's push for a Don't Say Gay bill say acknowledging LGBTQ people isn't the same as teaching kids about sex. Well, hey, I agree. So the issue here is that's not what the conservatives, the right, or people who are in favor of the parental rights bill did. They did that. They associated LGBTQ with this bill. They said it's called Don't Say Gay. Now they're complaining that people think they're linked. Isn't that just funny? It's like the point I've been making since the beginning is that someone's like, hey, don't talk to my kids about sex in secret. And they say, you hate gay people. It's like, what? You created that connection, and now you're complaining about the connection existing. Mm-hmm. These people live in their own ridiculous universe.
Well, and it's also laughable, too, that they would think that bringing that connection up or creating it would deter people from opposing that bill, as if I'm supposed to say, or anyone's supposed to say, who is a parent, I really don't want my child to be groomed or have uncomfortable conversations on sexuality. On the other hand, it might hurt gay people's feelings if we don't let that happen.
Yeah, the extreme metaphor would be like if the Nazis put clown makeup on their face and then did what they did. You'd be like, well, they're just joking because they look like clowns. Like, you can't just say you're gay and then all devious behavior is okay. It doesn't matter what your sexuality or how you claim, what you identify as. It doesn't matter.
A bunch of Klansmen wearing clown makeup and being like, no, it's not about racism. It's about clowns. Like, yeah,
you just hate clowns.
You just hate clowns. Yeah. We're not buying it, dude. Yeah. It's a weird position, but the left keeps doing it. And I wonder if it's actually working at this point. Because you look at the polls, man, people are just not having it. Parents support the parental rights and education bill because when you read it, when you read the summary, when you read the simple language, it all makes sense.
It's so interesting to me that the first thing they say when you say this is not good and we don't want grooming is that you hate gay people, because it seems to me like, based on the chorus that we just, talked about, and I was thinking about that earlier, I was like, they literally told us flat out they're coming for our children. Yes. I feel like they're telling on themselves when they're like, well, you hate gay people. Because
and then they're like, we're joking.
Yeah, we're just joking.
Bro, remember
Quiet
when that
part
dude,
loud, Lydia.
Remember when those dudes went around claiming that they were Nazis, but then they were like, yo, it's ironic. Yeah. And these people don't deserve the benefit of the doubt, okay?
Yeah. Agreed.
Neither do the people who are claiming to be ironic Nazis either, truth be told.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to parody, I think it should say parody on the thing before you load it up. Like a Twitter account, you go to a profile, it says this is a parody account. You can't have to sift through it to find out after the fact, was that a parody or not?
You'd be a good person to ask. Hold on. Right? I got.
And Seamus is good at parody, so I want to know what you think.
You have to accept the satirical posts you make. I know this because I post ridiculous garbage all the time. I tweeted something like Elon Musk is on the board. I was like, what if he just lets all the fascists and Nazis back on Twitter? And then I put a crying emoji. Yes, I fully understand that some people may see that tweet and think it's real. I don't care because it's not that serious. But if somebody wants to come out and make extreme statements like we're coming for your children or that they're Nazis, you better expect people to believe you're being honest about what that is. People are going to believe your jokes. What do you they don't know who you are.
Yeah, so it's a good question. This "we'll convert your children" parody isn't a parody in the proper sense, because it's not as if they're coming out and saying the opposite of what they actually want to do, right? So if I do a cartoon with a character named Republican Man who comes out and goes, I'm going to put cigarettes in Happy Meals and get everyone's children addicted to smoking for corporate profits or something ridiculous, that's a parody, that's satirical, because that's not something I as a conservative would actually be pushing for. I'm making fun of the way left-wing people portray conservatives. But what they're doing here is they're, in some sense, trying to poke fun at or delegitimize this idea that conservatives will say gay people will try to groom or convert their children, but they do so by saying, oh no, we will convert your children, but they try to use flowery language to describe that conversion. So they say we'll groom them or convert them into being more tolerant or better people or more accepting people, when those are really all just synonyms for what Republicans are talking about in the first place, which is accepting sexual degeneracy or engaging in it.
If Republicans actually were putting some kind of addictive chemical or advocating for it in Happy Meals, then I think the distinction there works better. Like, conservatives clearly aren't in favor of addictive chemicals in food for children.
Except for high fructose
which is why that would be satire.
Well, but you're talking about something a bit more
sodium
nuanced,
benzoate,
right?
Yeah,
but then So the issue here is conservatives are like, I think you're secretly grooming my children, and then they make a video saying they're doing it. It's like, okay,
Exactly.
no one's accusing
them
Republicans
saying,
of putting
okay,
cigarettes
I'm
in
the
Happy
villain you
Meals.
think I am. Watch me be villainous now. Like, that's not a joke to me.
This is something the left does all the time. They will for years resist the accusations thrown at them by the right, only to come out and accept the accusation in a cheeky manner. So they'll go, yeah, no, we are trying to convert your kids. But because they're doing it in a quote-unquote self-aware way, they see it as clever or acceptable when they're just telling us something that we already knew.
Like when Biden said he was Obama's vice president a couple days ago. Like, obviously,
I think
he's not in control.
I think he doesn't know.
Oh, he was
I
just
think it's
joking,
more-
right?
But he was the vice.
But he's making a statement about it's kind of fact. Like, Obama's way more likable and powerful than he is.
It's true.
Well,
Maybe not on paper today, but
I don't
Talk
care.
to
we
people
see this
around
in other
it.
ways, though, too, right?
You can't
he tried to
look at-
parody himself.
So-
It didn't work.
People will look at these videos of Biden and then try and push him to the most extreme interpretation. I don't play that game. People are like, look at this video of Biden being lost. And I'm like, he was looking for someone specific. Like he was supposed to bring someone up and introduce him and he couldn't find him. And so when Biden's like, I'm the vice president, everyone laughs. I'm like, I don't care if he said that. He used to be Obama's vice president. Now, when he says Trinidad Shabbat of pressure, Badakaf Karen, next now Resent, I'm like, that should be mocked and questioned for sure.
Yeah. My point is that the left has a habit of denying accusations that Republicans throw at them to come out and either pretend to be cheeky or act as if they're bold by acknowledging that it was true all along, even though they spent years denying it. So we see this with people like Beto O'Rourke going, yeah, we're going to come after your AR-15. Yeah, we're going to take your guns. Or what was popular among the left about 5 or 6 years ago, which was going, yeah, I'm a socialist. I actually do believe in that. Because for years and years and years, they'd been denying it. But then at some point they come out and they act like they're brave and bold and original for acknowledging the accusation that we have been throwing at them for years that they've repeatedly denied.
Well, it turns out the slopes are in fact slippery.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Like that's the key thing to realize, right? They would be like, oh, that's a slippery slope fallacy. Actually, like we should be at a point where slippery slope is a default assumption that accurately describes reality, and then you have to prove that actually no, this is one of those cases.
Almost every single argument, Patriot Act, it's like it's a slippery slope to this. You're overreacting, and now then you get 10 years later the indefinite detention provisions in the NDAA.
Do people really not think that in 10 years, like pedophilia will just be another sexual orientation, like in the worldview of the left?
It'll be a
They're gonna
metaverse
come out.
thing.
10 years.
Exactly.
It'll start
And
digitally on the metaverse.
all of the people who come out in favor it too are going to act as if they're either being cheeky or being bold in this exact same way. We see this nonstop. How long is it before some lefty writes an article about how actually the grooming that was being discussed all along is, in their view, morally legitimate? And then act like they're bold for saying so when we knew the entire time that that's how they felt.
I think in 10 years, this is the joke we've said. The Republican Party will be a bunch of transgender communists, and the left will be metaverse. What's the hive mind metaverse?
Yeah, we'll be trying to hold the line on pedophilia bad in 10 years, right? We'll be fighting that debate.
Well, Republicans, right. But Republicans are gradually just giving in to whatever the left wants.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, hopefully this is how we stop it, right? Like
True.
Like don't give up the brand.
It's ignorant.
Say grooming because it is grooming.
But the bills are simple. They're simple.
Yeah.
It's not like what the left is doing with these nefarious tactics. It's like conservatives are just like, we want to make sure parents know what's going on.
They're responsive.
And they're losing their mind.
Because
here's
they
the other
don't.
thing.
The downside is they're responding to the actions, and they're not looking far enough ahead to see what's coming to prevent it, which is the metaverse, grooming in the metaverse, digital grooming. Then you try to get haptic feedback machines where you can actually feel things on your body haptically. That's incredibly disturbing to think about a 5-year-old with a haptic feedback suit being groomed by some old man on the internet. And so think about that. You got to start thinking ahead, guys, if you're making legislation and preparing and protecting from this stuff.
Well,
ban the internet. Just get rid of it all. Everyone can use telephones.
I think you're right that in order to fight against this, one of the things we absolutely have to do is refer to this as grooming. We need to continue to use the proper language to discuss and summarize these things. But on top of that, it isn't just enough to use the word. We have to treat it as if it actually is grooming. If someone says, I don't support the Don't Say Gay law, and then you explain what the law actually is to them, and after looking into it and doing the research and learning what it means, they're still against it, stop associating with that person. They're okay with grooming children. I know we talk a lot on the right about how we shouldn't disassociate with people because we disagree with their politics, but this is not disagreeing on politics. This is one group of people saying it should be okay to sexually confuse and groom children. Those are not the kinds of people you want to associate with or have in your life. There has to be a social cost that a person pays for supporting grooming.
I understand. Agreed. I don't know if ostracization is the key. I don't know. You might be right, though.
Dude, look, that's what I've been saying. There's two distinct universes here. The left knows exactly what they're doing. Imagine there's two battleships in the ocean, And one of them is firing the missiles, and they're just coming straight at the other and saying it's getting bombed. And then on that ship, they're like, now slow down. We don't want to fight with the other guys. It's like, dude, at a certain point, you just say, hey, why don't we leave?
Yeah, sometimes the fight is picked with you, and you don't get to choose.
Exactly.
Right.
And
As we say, socialists don't have kids; they have yours.
Exactly. And this entire, conservative commitment to never hurting anybody's feelings or always being open-minded and tolerant towards other perspectives, including the most absurd far left perspectives imaginable, it doesn't really work with a lot of issues, especially issues like this. People have to stand up against this. This isn't just some abstraction, right? They're actually coming after children.
I am genuinely convinced in 10 years, the Republican Party is going to be a bunch of LGBTQIA communists.
Why do you
look
think
where
that?
we are.
Because I sit down and argue with conservatives about the Ahmaud Arbery case. Because they actually come in here and they're like, I believe that was all justified, that the guy who filmed it is going to prison for the rest of his life. And I'm like, why would he go to prison? And they're like, well, because they did it. And I'm like, bro, if people on the right are still sending their kids to college, people with a straight face come on this show, and they're like, yeah, I'm sending my kids to college. And I'm like, do you watch the show you're about to be on? Do you know what is happening in your country? Why would you advocate for that for your kids? They'll be fine. I guess that's the way everything goes.
They're just tired of being parents for 18 years and are looking forward to the break or something.
Yeah, but the break is simple. Hey, you're 18. Get a job. Move out. But get an apartment. You don't got to go to college to do that. But this is the point. When you have people on Fox and conservatives saying, you know what I think it was? So that they didn't look racist with the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. They said, well, the Kyle Rittenhouse thing proves that justice is served, and the Ahmaud Arbery thing proves that we all believe in true justice. No, the right caved on the Ahmaud Arbery stuff because they didn't want to look racist, because many Republicans are more worried about the opinion of the New York Times than their own constituents and whatever else is they're worried about with big media.
Yes, which is why conservatives do not stand up for their own values, and which is why we are in a situation where if you are in favor of the grooming bill, there are zero social consequences. But if you're against it, you could potentially lose your job, depending upon who your employer is, depending upon whether they're offended by that perspective. People are too afraid to speak out against the abuse of children because they don't want to lose their job. That's insane.
It is
and
insane.
Last time I was on the show, I was talking about this, and I was very pessimistic, but I want to say this. If you're an audience member who's watching this, I believe in you. I think you have the opportunity to speak out against this stuff. You should, and I think you're going to do it. I think the people watching this show are going to get fed up with this stuff, as fed up with it as we are, and they're going to be bold about it. And I really hope you are.
It was a couple of years ago. We were talking about how you need to stand up against the wokeness because they're literally burning down cities. People are dying. And we kept hearing people saying, yeah, but I'll lose my job and I have kids. Okay, well, now the issue has escalated to the point where they're grooming your kids in these public schools, and people are like, but I'll lose my job. And it's like, okay, dude, look, if you are okay with your kids being at these schools where they're grooming them because you don't want to lose your job, then I don't think I need to advocate for any of this stuff to you because you're not interested in actually making things better. I understand life's hard, but the crazy thing to me is that people once got on a boat for 3 months to come to a barren shoreline, and many of them died just because they were like, I need a better life for my kids. And now people are like, I don't know what I would do if I lost my job. Well, like Seamus said, there's other jobs out there. There's a path forward. But more importantly, I guess maybe it's easy for me to say I don't have kids, and that's what everyone says. But I've asked this question of everybody: would you rather have a job and know that your kids spend 8 hours a day with a groomer, or be homeless with your kid, not knowing where your food's coming from? And everyone always says, homeless with my kid, not knowing where my food is coming from.
Yeah.
So that's it, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I mean, but this is why we need laws, right? Like, because ultimately, people need to be able to work. Like, part of what we're all trying to build on the right, I assume, is a world again where people can sustain a family on a single income. People can not necessarily have to do childcare. And I think one of the basic functions of public education, especially those early ages where you're talking 5 to 10, is childcare. Like, that's a basic function that the state is performing. So that people can go off to work and not have to stay home with their kids.
Let's roast.
I want to mention one more thing.
All right.
So I want to mention this because on last show when we did talk about this, I said I was a little bit black-pilled, and I was saying that there are people who really will watch the show and think about these ideas, but they're too afraid to talk about them. And reading the comment section, it turns out there are a lot of people who insist that they are talking about these things in real life and at their work. And I just, I really want to commend them because I know that's very difficult. I know it's very difficult to do, and
Absolutely.
I genuinely have faith in this audience that if you're watching this and you don't usually talk about this stuff, you have to, and I really believe you can and will.
It sends out shockwaves when you communicate concepts. You see it reverberating through our collective consciousness.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.